Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends and another in our series of I Built Them So You Don't Have To. This is a champion that originally I was going to build a few months ago. Unfortunately, come hell or high water, she would refuse to use her skill set. She was only using her A2, so I scrapped the whole idea of making a video and wasting all the resources I had on building her out and booking her out. Thankfully, since the advent of the ability to assign and choose skills, block them out, and so forth, I can now confidently bring to you my next champion in the series, Haarken, GREATBLADE. Infectious Panic. Attacks one enemy, applies a debuff spread effect, taking 2 random debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies. Also extends the duration of those debuffs by 2 turns. Will not extend the duration of debuffs on the initial target. Fearsome Iron Slap. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% bookable to 100% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff on the target for 2 turns before attacking. Bloodied Steel. Attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if this attack is critical. There you go. Fairly easy spider 20 HP burn strategy, despite the fact, or in spite of the fact, rather, that I do not have an AoE HP burn. Pretty nice tandem here. Let's do it again. This time, let's move up to stage 24. This is the team we're going to bring into 24. Now, we've switched some things out. We're bringing the old Stu Deucer in here. But I want to show you what happens. And this is the frustration of why I didn't put this video out months ago when I had Haarken ready to go. So here we are, same as before. Now you know that Coldheart uses her A2 by default. Our boy Bulwark, he knows what he needs to do. But then there she goes. She uses her A2 instead of her A3. Fine. Miscreated Monster does his job. Bulwark's going to be the attack because he's the lowest health right now, and there's no weak affinity, and there's no one that's so low that they take priority. I've made sure everyone here has really good health. We're okay with Bulwark being the target because he is a defensive-based champion. It would be really nice if it did Seducer, but he's got a little bit too much HP. So Bulwark is the guy they're going to go after, which is fine. So the other thing you'll notice that there's Ally Protect on here. She still hasn't used her A3. She is immune to the understanding that A3 would work here. I've seen a video where she did use it on auto. I don't know what that video is. I have not been able to reproduce it. You can see here, we didn't get the HP burn up, full wipe. Or will be, of course, a full wipe. So now, let's go in and I'll show you what I've decided to do for the team to offer the best chance of success. We'll go down here, we'll turn it on, but there we go. Seducer, we're removing Disorienting Blast because we don't want this decreased attack to land. I'll explain a bit about that in a minute. And then we have Twisted Devotion. It is redundant to say to use it first when he does use it anyway, but I just like reminding myself, if I were looking at this team down the road and I would just be thinking, what am I trying to do? Oh yeah, right, we're having Twisted Devotion. We want him to put that block up first. It's just a visual indicator for me, even though it is redundant. As you can see here, big thing is resist. He's got a whack of defense. It might even be a good idea to drop his HP so that he is the target over Bulwark, and he is the slowest on the team, so he's putting up that 2-turn block debuffs in case the spider decides to change, the spiderlings change their mind on who to attack. Right now it's Bulwark. They can decide Cold Heart or that sort of thing. So just a good safe thing. Cold Heart here, we're saying, hey, use this first if it's available. And again, visual indicator for me, although this is redundant to say it's the opener. The spider gets to a close to 50% turn meter when Cold Heart takes her turn, and of course her Heartseeker ability is reduced by half when against 21 through 25. So it's fine that she goes first. If you're a little bit like, nah, I feel like I'm not efficient enough, you can slow Cold Heart to go down to third, and third there will be enough turn meter that she's 100% efficient on her A3. Bulwark, again, just a visual indicator. You saw he does the right thing. He's going to put up his HP burn. Miscreated Monster, again, visual indicator on the Lightning Storm, but I've actually turned off his A3 because there are instances where he takes enough damage incoming from the spider when it takes its turn to kill him with Ally Protect. So in order to alleviate that issue, we've taken off the Ally Protect, and then we know that Bulwark's going to be the one attacked most of the time, so it's just Haarken who's the attack champion. You can play around with her, make her a little more survivable, make sure she survives. The only two that have to survive past the first set of rounds is Miscreated Monster and Haarken, because there'll always be an HP burn for her to get back to her A3, and Miscreated Monster, just that survivability, till the spider actually succumbs to the damage from the HP burn. Finally, we have Haarken GREATBLADE, again, redundancy, but good at visual indicator. And we're making sure that Infectious Panic goes. We're saving it. We're coming in. And now we can hit start. And we can have a completely different scenario go on. Boom. First, we're going to get that turn meter reduction. Second, we're going to have our Bulwark go. Boom. He's got the HP burn up. And then Haarken spread. Perfect. I see one spider resisted it, and then we've got the HP burn, and away we go. We also got some really good stuns there from Miscreated Monster, so that's nice. We've got the block debuffs, so that's just going to help the survivability. Bulwark's going to be the target here. I think at some point it does switch over to Haarken when she takes her turn, but oh no, maybe not. I thought for some reason I thought that Haarken at some point became the target, but that's okay. Bulwark can actually die here. Is not a big deal if he dies. There, we take the hit. That's a bit of a problem that Miscreated Monster had no turn meter when he got hit. I thought I sped him up to the point where that shouldn't happen, but apparently I did not. So just keep that in mind, that this is going to be a little scary. Got the turn meter reduction again. Good. They're going to go after Bulwark and kill him, but again, he doesn't have to be alive. There we go. We've got the HP burn again. Bulwark's going to go down. Probably Haarken. Well, Haarken's already done her job too. So honestly, if she dies, not a big deal. There we go. And at this point, it's game over for them. We've satisfied everything we need to do here. The HP burns more than enough to kill him. We're going to get about a 145. I've done 120 something on this as well. So I think that has to do with Miscreated Monster. If Miscreated Monster didn't take that nap, he would have gotten one turn earlier on getting up his shields, and then we would have all stayed alive and probably been a little bit quicker. But 135, there you go. Pretty easy. 24, very nice. With 3 rares, 2 epics. Yes, I'm using Miscreated Monster, but you need survivability in these higher level dungeons. You can't get around that, whether that is some sort of heals, cleanse, combination weak affinity, tank, freezes, stuns, whatever it takes for that survivability, do it. In this case, we're using Miscreated Monster. But the main thing here is you see that Haarken, 9.9 million damage. She is the one creating and allowing this to happen in spite of having no AoE HP burn. All right, everybody, it's been a while since we've done one of these comparative damage tests, and so we brought in some of our usual suspects up against Haarken to show what kind of damage she does. So let's give this a go. We've brought in Phoenix, all these in Savage, by the way. We've got a 235 crit damage, a 4356 attack, and we've got on the Knight Errant, we've got the 4382 at 231. He's a slow boy, but for these tests, it doesn't really matter. Of course, Haarken, and we'll show her full stats and everything later, but she's at 4k damage, 239 crit damage. As you can see, that 1487, I expected it to be a little bit higher. I'm not sure what I must have changed some piece of gear, but she's in Savage and Cruel, so Still going to do a pretty good comparative test. And then we have Rhodos, of course, sitting at 5,000 attack and 244 crit damage. So let's give these a go. We'll see what kind of damages she can do. Then we'll go over her gear and final thoughts. So here we go. Let's debuff. Of course. Let's do the A3, attacks one enemy. So we'll do that. And you go at 97. So hers, which also extends, doing that on purpose, 99. So you can see the A3s pretty much pretty similar. Phoenix has a chance to put that decreased speed. She obviously is debuff spread. So as far as single target damage, pretty decent. You go to Fatal Destruction here. Boom, he's a 108. Of course, he had way more attack. And then this is just not fair, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to go with his A3, which obviously 195. He's got that mechanic where he's got full HP. He does considerably more damage, and you can see it there. So let's back out now. This is not really a fair test, but these three, forget Knight Errant, who did more than 124, but 99, 97, 108, not 108. Looks like their modifiers are pretty much on par with each other. It's not always a big deal. Let's check A2 now. Phoenix has an A2 that's an AoE, so we're not going to do his. We're just going to use his A3 again over here. 91. Now we'll use her A2 over here. She does put a weaken, and again, a strong hit, a fairly reasonable hit. You look at, there you go, 107, and his A2, which also, by the way, also has that stun. We're gonna, well, why not? Boom, 104. So all very similar numbers. So her single target attack is on par with an attack-based champion. You can see it there. It's all falling within what you've kind of expected it. Let's finally go to the A1. The problem is that she is, it's all single target. So if you program her for that debuff spread, it is somewhat useful to have her on the team because she can actually do some pretty good damage. Let's do one more. We'll test the A1s. But, you know, she's not the first choice. She's definitely, if you have the AoE of HP burn, or you have enough of the poisons, then that's definitely the better way to go. You see, you got 57 and 60. You got hers. Now, it does place an extra hit, so this is a fair comparison, and fairly close numbers, too, to be honest with you. Boom, you go there. He's obviously single target. They're actually lagging behind. And when we leave the battle, you'll see that she holds up. Her numbers hold up. Her damages are holding up to Phoenix. She's got a little bit less than attack than him, but definitely at over 1,400 base attack, you can get her numbers to almost identical as him. So I guess, you know, now that we can actually get her A3 to work, she's actually a somewhat useful champion, I believe. We'll talk about more in the final thoughts, but let's now go over the full gear that I've used in Masteries, and then we'll go to the final thoughts. So here's the gear. Now, full disclosure, I used different gear on her when we did the spider and when we did these debuff spread scenarios, because she needed the speed and because her damage was not in any way, shape, or form an important part of her total kit for those tests. Her having more damage wasn't going to make the runs faster. It was about her getting that HP burn debuff spread. Also, keep in mind, if you want to use her with like a Zavia on dungeons, it's very difficult to get her on the 21 through 25 because she doesn't put extra debuffs on the one she hits. So that one stays alive and it messes up the turn order. So you might have to play around with that. But definitely on the Spiderlings, doing that HP burn is a perfectly viable strat. But we switched out to damage for, you know, just to have fair comparison. We'll take a look at our Masteries here. Pretty standard for what I do. You get that first hit extra damage, you get the full HP extra damage, you get the higher max HP damage, and then you get, of course, Helm Smasher. And then we just, you know, the chance to extend on her A2, and then just some extra accuracy down the one side. Pretty much standard for what I do. Artifact wise, we've got her in Savage right now at just shy of 4k attack. And 239 crit damage. We had her at her debuff accuracy was about 330 when I took her through the spider. So you're looking at, I I don't even remember her attack. It's in the video, but her speed was obviously 227. It had to be a lot higher just to make sure that she was going right after the HP burn so that no other debuffs could get on there. But there you go. That's it. Let's talk about final thoughts on Haarken GREATBLADE. I guess the return of Haarken, although you never got to see the original. My final thoughts on Haarken GREATBLADE. Prior to the changes of which you could actually program your team to do a little bit more proper AI based on what you needed for that particular dungeon, Haarken was broken. As I proved in here, she does not want to use her A3. I have seen videos where she had, so I don't know if this was a break in a patch or whether there's some kind of mysterious scenario you need to have in order for her to actually use her A3. But what I do know is when I took her into spiders on her own, she does not use it. She uses A2 and A1 exclusively. Even if she lands the weaken, it's not like she's trying to weaken every spiderling either. She just doesn't want to use her A3. Now we can force her to. We shouldn't have to. It's ridiculous to me that she doesn't do this by default, but beggars can't be choosers. This is Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you, Plarium, for your crack job doing programming AI skills on these champions. Nonetheless, you can now use her. And what I will say is, she is only one of 2 champions that can actually debuff spread. There is an asterisk. There is a third one. Xayah can do it when Bellinor's on the same team. But other than that, it's only Vizier and Haarken. Vizier is an amazing champion, a legendary champion. So the only other champion who you can do this with is Haarken. And now that you can do it on auto, it kind of makes her a really good champion. It is situational. If you don't need an AoE, because you already have an AoE, you don't need her. But if there's ever a scenario where you need to spread debuffs, HP burn, poison, defense down, weaken, attack down, any of these abilities to all champions, she's there. She's great. And I'll tell you, she can do it with very little requirement in gear. When I showed you the Spider 24 dungeon and 20 dungeon, she actually did not have any masteries, and she only had gear for speed. I made her some HP so that she's a bit survivable, but the primary there was just getting her speed up there with the accuracy, right? Then when we took her and did some damage tests with her, she can actually do reasonable damage. That A1 hits twice, does really good job for damage. Her A2 hits pretty hard, puts down a weaken, the big weaken, and her A3 hits hard with that, of course, debuff spread. So overall, I'm actually somewhat impressed with her. Certainly for me, she's a Vault Dweller. This is the first and last time I'll probably use her because I have champions that can do it on their own, but many of you don't. So if you've pulled Haarken and you have Bellinor, you have Rosin, you have Taurus, but it's not enough poisons to explode everyone with Taurus alone, and you don't have Bad L to go with or any of the other multi poisoners. Hey, guess what? You can use Haarken to spread those along, and Xayah can then do her bombs properly. There are so many scenarios where she's going to help out and work. You just have to remember, A, she doesn't add any poisons to her target or any debuffs to her target, which in the case of poisons is a bit of an asterisk. And of course the fact that she only takes 2. So you have to remember that she's not spreading more than 2 random debuffs. So you want to make sure you build your teams around only 2. But honestly, I actually like her. I actually like what she can do for teams out there. I would have said on my free-to-play account this would be amazing, but I actually pulled Vizier on my main account, which was my first legendary the day before I got Ninja. And then I actually pulled a Crypt King Grawl as my third. So I went from 0 legendaries to 3 on my free-to-play account in a matter of like 4 days. So pretty crazy times there, but absolutely amazing. So even my main account, or even my free-to-play account, probably wouldn't use Haarken. But still, at the end of the day, she's Void Affinity. So she even has an advantage over Vizier because he can weak hit on Spirit Affinity bosses or Spirit Affinity enemies. Haarken's can't. So absolutely a usable champion, finally a usable champion. Those are my thoughts on her. I like her. Where would you use her? This is my question for you for the comments down below. Where would you use her that I did not? The scenarios I look at is Spider, which I showcased. I would also say Poison Bomb, which would most notably be Ice Golem is really good with that, with Zavia or Elenarl, in depending on what level. What else do you think? Where else do you think that she could be absolutely usable to help people progress through? I think Spiderling's defense down weaken as well. If you happen to not have an AoE of that, would be great for a weak affinity tank scenario or something like that. So those are my thoughts. What are yours? What do you think of Haarken? Is she finally usable, or is she still a dud? Let me know in the comments down below. That's all I have for you today. I want to thank you for making it this far in this video. And this long a wait. It's been many months since I actually was going to do a video on her, and it's absolutely wonderful that I can finally do a video. So thank you for making it this far. Please like and subscribe, and most importantly, be kind, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.